Grace and peace to you from God our Father, our ever-present, our risen Lord, and our Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen. Basis for today's message is the words that we read earlier, or heard earlier, or read. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened. I will give you rest, says Jesus. For my yoke is easy, my burden is light. Take my yoke upon me and learn from me, and you will find rest for your soul. I read those words years ago when I was starting my walk with learning how to yoke myself with Jesus, learning to ask the question, what is Jesus talking about with his yoke? What is Jesus' yoke? And back in his day, when he was making the reference to a yoke, he was referring to a yoke that was put on an animal or a beast of burden. And it was heavy. And they used a yoke to yoke a older, stronger, mature animal, beast of burden, with a younger, immature animal, and they would learn from the older animal how to carry the weight. And they would be able to use this yoke to be able to have most of the burden on the bigger, stronger, older beast of burden and less of the burden on the younger one, and they would work together. And then they would carry or pull a weight of burden. And so Jesus was making a reference. He's saying, take my yoke upon you and learn from me, and you will find rest for your soul. So I ask you today, what kind of burdens and weariness do we people deal with? Do we deal with in our daily life? What kind of weariness is out there? What kind of burdens are out there that we deal with in this world? Did you think of any? Guilt? Illness. Oh, sorry. I thought I heard guilt. Okay. Illness. What kind of burdens and weariness out there are there? Okay, would it be easier just to turn to somebody and tell somebody? Did you guys think about anything? I really want us to reflect on, if Jesus is saying, come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, who is he talking to? Is he talking to you or someone else? And if he's talking to you, you need to be honest with yourself. And it's one of the hardest things for us to do, is to be honest with ourselves. But when we do, it makes a difference. When we're honest with ourselves and with God and each other, it's a blessing to others and ourselves. But it's one of the hardest things for us to do, is be honest about, well, I ain't going to talk about any burdens. Why? Because that's the burden, one of the burdens that he's talking about. One of the burdens he's talking about that drew my attention is, I went to Mustard Seed this couple weeks ago, not last week, but the week before, and I bought 2 different Bibles because we have to make a decision coming up in the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod, because there's not to be so many 1984 versions of the NIV text out there anymore. And as we run out of them, there's going to be less and less. So we have to look at a text that we can be able to read. For the last many years, I've been reading NIV. That's what I know by heart. That's what's become part of my mind and my heart, and I memorize it. And it's just become part of me. But now I'm being forced to learn a new one because things happened which are another conversation. A company bought out a company which changed the pattern for the NIV text, and they changed it from he, she to they, we. So making it pronoun nice. And they changed some of the commentaries on there, so now the higher theologians are saying, we got to be careful about what we're reading. So I'm out there, I'm reading now the New Life Translation by Tyndale. I like it already. Some of the thoughts I'm going to share today came from this. This is, according to the people at Mustard Seed, this is the most popular version of Bible that they're selling. People come in, they want a Bible. This is what they've been showing them to tell them. This is a self-study one. So I'm reading it. I'm going to start using it. I got this one, and I got a men's one back at Nadine. So I'm reading one at home and one here at church. I'm getting to know it so I can say, hey, this is good. There's some great thoughts that come from here, and here's one of them. When we deal with burdens, we have burdens that we talk about. When we deal with weariness, we're dealing with a lot of physical weariness. Weariness of this and weariness of that. And certainly it includes that, illness. sickness, disease, emotional, mental, psychological, physical, spiritual. And then there's burdens and weariness in this life. Let me see. What am I dealing with? Let me be honest and practice what I preach. Let me think. I'm being facetious here. Trying to sell the home when I'm living here in Minnesota. The tension of going down there, getting things done, coming back here, and the burden of going, well, I wonder what people are thinking. Is he not doing his job? Well, no, I'm taking my personal time to do that, my vacation time, to sell my home. So I'm down there getting that done. Kids are down there. I got a young son who's getting married next couple weeks from now, and he's helping me greatly. I got Laura got an accident. She blew out her knee. She's got a torn meniscus. She's got moderate to extreme arthritis, and she also has a stress fracture from walking on it after she blew her knee out. Now she's walking with the crutches. I had the crutches the whole time here. Didn't say a word to her. I keep showing her the crutches. She didn't wear the crutches, and now she's wearing crutches. She's working this morning at the Alex Assisted Living. She's sitting on a stool, and they hired a runner to go get me some milk and eggs and juice from the freezer, put the Jell-O away. So she's sitting there doing the job, cooking, and they have this runner running. I can't believe they did it, but they did it. Burdens, weariness, working all week down there, coming back here, working all day yesterday. Your service is ready for Sunday morning or Monday morning. You got it? It's on your desk. Okay. What is it for you? What are the things that make you weary? What are the things that burden you? And then the next question is, are those the weariness and the burdens that Jesus is even talking about? Because he invited all who are weary and burdened to come to him. Come to him. What does come to Jesus mean? Take my yoke upon you. Learn from me. Those are action words. Come to me. Take up my yoke upon you and learn from me, and I will give you rest for your soul. Rest for our soul. I remember, I don't know exactly what year it was. It was either my freshman, sophomore, or junior year in high school because I was still walking to school. My senior year, finally my dad got me a 1971 four-door Chevy Impala 350, brown, chocolate brown inside and out, and I thought I was the king of the earth. So it wasn't the high school year. I was still walking to school. I remember walking to school, and I was walking to school. I had this conversation with myself and with God at the same time, and I remember the street block. I was just about ready to turn and go right and left and into the school. So I was over halfway there, which is about, I had to walk probably a mile, whippy-doo, uphill both ways. No, it was as flat as a piece of paper. I remember walking to school, and I wished I could remember the year. It was probably between my sophomore and junior year when I had spent enough time in the high school, because I started dabbling in the things and the ways of the world. What burdens and what things wearied me at that time and age? I'll tell you exactly. I needed to find the right length and color of the crazy comb. It had to be that long with the comb this big, and it had all the weird colors on it so I could stick it in my back pocket and look cool like everybody else. I had to wear the right color blue jeans. You couldn't have blue jeans. They had to be the right color and right style. And overnight, it went from bell bottoms to straight legs. I've been walking around with bell bottoms, real cool like, and then the next day, everybody's wearing straight legs, and I'm wearing my bell bottoms. I don't feel like I'm fitting in. Then some kids showed me how to cut the bell bottoms down to make them straight legs. Tried it, ruined one pair, and then I got another pair from the store. I was stressed out. I was weary. I had to have the right right smell of my hair and the right way I comb my hair. I don't have to worry about it now. I remember people started calling me Papa Smurf. I was called Papa Smurf because I looked like a Smurf. I had blue jeans and a baby blue t-shirt. And like the Smurfs are all blue except for the white shoes, right? Well, back then you had to wear the right color sneaker with the tongue hanging out and the strings untied, sticking out inside of your pants. And walking around and I was Papa Smurf because you look like Papa Smurf. I look like a Smurf. And I was always trying to take care of the young person who was getting overlooked or mistreated. That was what I was worried about. That was what I was burdened by. But is that the weariness and the burden that Jesus is trying to address? Or is it different? In my world, it was that. I was getting caught up on what it was to be like to be accepted and wanted. And at one party or the next day or the next week, was I in or was I out? Was I on the outside looking in? What happened? I was worrying, who's determining who's who and what's what? And I was tired of it. I got sick of it. I got sick of trying to figure out, am I okay or not? Anyone ever been there before? Or was that just me? And I said, God, I'm tired of this hole in my heart that I'm trying to fill, and it seems like from week to week, day to day, person to person, everybody changes what fills my heart, and I'm sick of it. I don't want that anymore. Fill me up so I don't have to be filled up by somebody or something else that doesn't do it, doesn't make it complete or final anymore. I'm sick of it. Help me. Turned the corner, literally walked, turned the corner, turned the next corner, and I'm turning the next corner, I'm going, oh, I wish I would have done that earlier. I wish I would have done this earlier. Because you know what? God, this is way better this way than the burden and the weight of all that other stuff. And to this day, those words, every time I read them, remind me where I have been, where I came from, where I'm at right now, and how far I have to go still. I'm still learning what does it mean to come to Jesus. I'm still learning about what those burdens and weights are that He's saying you can be free from. You see, because from time to time in my life, I do get burdened. I do get weighed down. And when I do, I realize by Jesus' gentleness, by Jesus' humbleness, in His teaching me and showing me, see, you did it again, Tim. You replaced my yoke with some other yoke. You did it again, Tim. You see this burden? You replaced it with this burden and not mine. Mine's light. Yours is heavy. And some of them burdens are what I think others think I should act like. Simple as that. Whether it's in my own mind or it's somebody telling me or reacting to me out there, it doesn't matter if it's outside of me or inside of me. It's the burden and the weight of, you know what, I better act and talk a certain way and act holy and righteous a certain way. If I don't, then what? I'm not good enough. I'm not holy enough. I'm not righteous enough. I'm not worthy enough. That's a weight. That's a burden that Jesus is saying, I will lift from you. I will take from you because my burden is light. My yoke is easy. Learn from me. And when I started being yoked to Jesus and allowing His yoke to be on my back, my body, my life, and I yoked myself to Jesus in His Word, and that's what set me free. That's what's lifted my burden and my weight. And that's where I find rest for my soul. I can't talk to you about the details, but I can tell you this. I'm in conversation with somebody clear across the United States who asked me personally, saying to me, can you tell me what you mean and how do you do it in what you said about your relationship with God and Jesus? And so I've actually had to slow down and start thinking about how I'm in relationship with Jesus so I can explain to somebody it's not going to church. It's not doing prayers before eating and going to bed or praying for others in need. It's not the activities that Jesus is saying that gives us rest. It's the relationship with Him. The yoke is a relationship. It's not our activities. It's great and well to do those things, but that's not the relationship. That's not what gives us peace. That's not what gives us rest to our soul. It's relationship with Jesus that gives us peace and rest. And I'm talking about a rest that you can have all the burdens of the world on your shoulders and it's still okay because He is with you. You're not alone. He hasn't abandoned you. He hasn't forsaken you. He's right with you in your hell, in your prison, whether it's somebody else's or your own. And whether you have loved ones that you're losing or moving from one home to the next and you're still not in a home, it doesn't matter. It's okay because I'm not alone. Because I'm yoked to Him and He's yoked to me. So what kind of burdens and weariness weigh you down? And are they the ones that Jesus is talking about, that He says He will give you rest from and give you rest? Even in this world. And Jesus is not talking about a rest. He's not talking about a rest from not having to go through trials and tribulations and struggles at all. He is not saying that at all. He is talking about a rest in our heart, in our soul, that not even hell and Satan himself can snatch away from us kind of rest. That's what Jesus offers and gives freely to everyone who comes to Him, takes His yoke, and learns from Him. It's what He guarantees. It's what He promises. And I can stand here today and tell you 37 years later, I'm still learning how to yoke myself to Him and learn from Him and be with Jesus. And so can you. And so can you. I want to make sure you heard that. That kind of relationship right there with Grandpa. Yes. That rest, that peace that no one or anything can take away. That's Jesus' gift. That's Jesus' offering to all of us today. Amen. Amen. We continue now with the reciting.